Right then, boys, it is that time again. The Premier League is back on our screens. We are back into a season of football. So that means only one thing, the annually traditional Premier League predictions video. That's right. I'm going to go from position 20, number 1, who's getting relegated, who's getting the European spots. We're going to go through it all and see who's going to be coming out on top for this season. So if you are going to enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe, obviously comment down below on our social pages what you think your predictions are going to be. But without further ado, let's get it started. Okay then, so here we go, Premier League predictions. As I said, we're going to start with relegation, so I'm going to go from 20th place to 1st. I've got my little notepad of information here to let me know which teams to go for. I'm going to try and go through this as quick as possible so I don't drown you out with the boring bits. And also, in fairness, on the transfer window, I'd say it's actually been a bit quiet. So, but yeah, we'll let you go on that opinion. So let's kick it off then. In number 20, I have got Southampton. For me, team-wise, I just think they look... Realistically, apart from a few odd signings here and there, this is pretty much still the same team that got relegated about 2-3 seasons ago now. It doesn't really fill me with much excitement. Brenton Diaz, Hardwood Bells and Flynn Downs in. I think Brenton Diaz as well is quite a good signing. You know, obviously they've just lost Che Adams to Torino. Their only real striker right now is Adam Armstrong. And judging by what he did last time, I don't think he was a real massive impact in the Premier League. But I think for someone like him, to get Brenton Diaz in, who looks okay-ish at Sheffield United last year, I think that's actually going to help him in the long run. But ultimately, like I said, I just don't really think there's enough quality there for Southampton. I don't really see him staying much more than outside of the relegation zone, if not in 17th place for about 3 or 4 weeks there. So yeah, 20th place, Southampton. In 19th place, I've got Leicester City. So that's 2 of our newly promoted teams. Again, not a terrible team. Again, this is one of those where it's like, it's kind of the same from what we saw 2-3 seasons ago from when they got relegated. A lot of those core players are still there. But there is also some new signings. Obviously, Harry Winks last season being a really good signing investment for them. And they've also made a few more championship signings. I know they've made the likes of Dick Reed from Fulham coming in. You know, but there's no one that really stands out in terms of name quality. Obviously, they've still got the likes of Jamie Vardy there. Ian Acho's now gone from the club. Dewsbury Hall's also now left as well. He's gone to Chelsea in a very unique move, but with them. It's like I said, I just don't really see a team there that for me is going to really grasp it well in the Premier League this year. And obviously, Steve Cooper as their manager as well. Nothing against the guy. I think he actually is a good manager. I just think he's one of those that not only is going to get found out with this Leicester team, I actually think he's going to get sacked as well from this point about midway into the season. So, number 19, Leicester City. In number 18 then, this is I'm going to say this is a bit of a controversial one. I'm going on purely from what I feel I've been watching them from the last few seasons. Well, I know my mate's probably going to kill me on this one, but in 18th place, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. This for me is a bit contestable between what I've got in 17th and 16th. So, no, if either one of these 3 teams go down, I wouldn't really be surprised. But I'm going with this one and just what I feel the gut feeling is. Wolverhampton Wanderers, this is a team for me that, you know, when they first came up to the Premier League a few seasons ago, look at the impact that they made when coming up and getting that European football, having a great run through with Europa League. And then over the years, they've gradually lost some of those key players. Raul Jimenez left. I just had the name in my mind as well. Player's gone to Liverpool. I can't remember his name, unfortunately. And it's the same again this season. Obviously, Max Kilman's gone to West Ham for, I think it was about £35 million. I think he's a decent centre-half, not that much though. And obviously, the one that was pretty much expected for the last 2 years, Pedro Neto's finally gone to Chelsea, which makes no sense as well. But, you know, whatever they want to do. Again, there's just not really enough quality there for me to believe that they're really going to push on the season. I know under Neil they've done a lot better, and like I said, if they were to also stay up, I would say in that fairness, I wouldn't massively be surprised. It's just for me, from what I see, and when I look at that team, I just don't see enough quality. Cunha's not really cut it in the Premier League. They've obviously lost 2 of their star players there. They're really trying to essentially go through a rebuild stage. And obviously, if you can get through this season with 2 players like that gone, and hopefully new ownership sooner than later, I just think they're going to be really struggling this season. Not really going to be something that, for me, would be much of a surprise. But like I said, it is contestable. But in 18th place, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. 17th place then, the next contestable one, Nottingham Forest. Once again, it's kind of a push here. I'd much more expect Nottingham Forest to go down, mainly because I think they actually should. It'd probably be for their own best. But yeah, I'm not really seeing much of anything from them this season. Elliot Anderson for 35 million from Newcastle. I know it's FFP, and they've obviously had to sell Vladimir Tos to Newcastle, the goalkeeper. They've also made a few more signings as well, as I know, but again, it's just random signings. It just feels like you're filling square pegs with circle rims. It doesn't really scream like, again, a team for me that's going to go up. Nuno Espirito Santo, I think only just kept them up. But I think some of the likes of where Wolves have perhaps lost their key players in Kilman and Neto, keeping the likes of oh my god, I'm forgetting names here. This is terrible. Gibbs White, the Chelsea winger, whatever his name, Hudson-Odoi. Chris Wood's still there to be. He's going to come up with once again of goals. And you never know, Elliot Anderson could come good for him, but I just think for that money, it's a little bit questionable. And I just think managerial-wise, I just don't really see much of him coming forth. But yeah, in 17th place, I've got Nottingham Forest. 16th place then, Everton. Again, this is one of those, if anything, of the three, Everton should go down, because they are rubbish and just, quite frankly, wasting it in the Premier League. Obviously, they've lost Onana, but they have signed some good players. Obviously, Timo Werner from Aston Villa. They've signed Ndia from Marseille, originally played for Sheffield United. Some decent-ish returns, but obviously losing your key pivot in midfield there, Onana. I know some of them will probably say it's long overdue. They're not going to miss him. But you never know. One player can really affect the team. I think we could see that with Wolves, like I've said. But like I said, at Everton, I just don't really see much quality there. And I think it's just going to be another one of those hanging in their season. They're not really much for anything. I'd like to see them, I don't want to say a managerial change, but just give them some financial backing. Obviously, they're going through the process for a new stadium anyway, so that might be where the financial spending's going towards. But I just don't really see it much with Everton, so that's why I've got them in 16th place. In 15th then, I'm going for a surprise here, Ipswich Town. Now, I don't think they're going to do as well as... Because initially, in my mind, I was expecting them to be at least about 12th or 13th. However, let's be a bit more realistic here. I think ultimately they're going to stay up. I don't really see all three promoted teams going down. I'd like to at least think one of them will go. Otherwise, it really just puts into question what is the strength and general point of the Championship if Premier League teams are just going out spending loads of money. We'll get to it with some of the teams that have been spending that money. But I think Ipswich Town will surprise some people this season. Obviously having a great run of it last year in the Championship. Some decent signings. Obviously breaking today, Calvin Phillips will be joining on loan for them. Unless anything goes wrong there, then there you go. Liam Delap obviously coming in. And I want to say it's Jacob Greaves from Hull City, the really tall centre-half. You know, there's some solid signings that they've made there, to be fair. Obviously, I couldn't tell you much about Ipswich Town, just because I haven't really watched them that much, unfortunately. But like I said, that fighting spirit, I think that's what's going to really push them through this season. And I think they're going to have a real nice, solid end to the season. I think that's where they're going to shine. Obviously, find your footing in the Premier League first, get used to the opposition and change of atmosphere. And I think they're going to really surprise some people. So in 15th place, Ipswich Town. So then in 14th place, I've got Brentford. Obviously, the likes of Thiago coming in from Club Brugge, a Brazilian striker there. Fabio Carvalho as well from Liverpool to give them a bit of flexibility out wide. Ivan Toney is probably staying as well this season. So there's still a decent bit of their team there. However, I just don't really see much of them. I think this is one of those teams that they really need to put some money into it and put some real pushing behind their team to get some more depth and a bit more better quality, and I think they're going to finally push them to league. I'd also argue this is probably a good time as ever to see their manager leave. Obviously, you know, Brentford's manager has been highly requested by a lot of teams. I know he's quite a favourable player, Thomas Frank, and it might be this season. He might sit there and say he's taking it. It's probably as far as he can go, but you never know. I just think, really, for me, Brentford are just going to stay in the middle of the table. So yeah, 14th, I've got Brentford. 13th place then, I've got Fulham. I know a lot of people were considering Fulham to either be A, going down, or B, see their manager getting sacked. Now, whilst I could see the manager getting sacked, again, in fairness, I think there's kind of a ceiling to reach with Fulham. Obviously, some okay-ish signings coming in. Obviously, Emile Smith-Rowe is probably their biggest talking point this year. Ryan Sessegnon coming back to the club for a second run. Yeah, the okay signings. They're not signings for me that would say, you know, they're making an impact this year. And I also think they're probably going to become one of those teams that are gradually going to get worse and worse. And I think this is probably the year we could see that, if not go a few places down. But yeah, 13th place for me, Fulham. In 12th place then, I've got Bournemouth. Now, obviously, they had a really nice go of it last year with a new manager. Iriola, I think his name is. He really brought the team together and starting to see the kind of plays and ideas that he wants to bring to the club. Obviously, the big loss of Solanke this year for around 60 million, so no main man up front. However, they have brought in Arellano from MLS, I want to say it is, to probably replace Jefferson from Sheffield United. I think they're going to get better towards the end, and I think this is one again, kind of a recouping stage in the sense of let's learn how to play without Dominic Solanke, our main striker, and then probably maybe look at it in January and see if we need to readdress there. But like I said, I think they're going to carry on from what they did last season, pick up some good performances and some decent points as well. So in 12th place, I've got Bournemouth. 11th place then, I've got Crystal Palace. Now, obviously, the big loss of Michael Olise. Everyone thought he was going to Chelsea. He's now gone to Bayern Munich. Eberechi Eze, at the moment of recording, it's still not 100% certain whether he's going to be leaving or staying. However, it looks like there's going to be probably a stay. Mark Gehi as well. There's been big talks that he's going to Newcastle United, but we haven't seen much of that in the deal being completed as of recording. Not really many signings. Kamada from Lazio. I know there was talks for Wilfried Zaha to come back in, but I believe along with Leicester City that can't now happen, unfortunately, due to, I believe, something to do with tax. But again, under Glacier, I think they're going to have a nice, good start of it again. And like I said, I think it's one of those teams that also need to have a bit of a recuperation period to try and understand what they need to bring forward. And probably in this case, if Eze doesn't go this year, this will probably be Eze's last year at Crystal Palace. So yeah, in 11th place, Crystal Palace. In 10th place, then, probably a bit of a shock to a lot of people, West Ham United. Now, I know, listen, if we're going on transfer windows alone, they've probably had the best one out of the lot. They've made some absolutely great signings here this year. Christensen Somerville from Leeds United, Fulkig from Borussia Dortmund, and obviously, more recently, Jean Todibo from, I want to say, Nice in France. That was a big story and a big coup for them to get. And along with a few other players, I know they made West Fodingham from Sheffield United on a free. And there's quite a few other players as well that they've made some signings there. Obviously, a new manager, Julian Lopetegui, didn't really cut it out with Wolverhampton Wanderers. But I think that's probably because he didn't get the backing there. Whereas with West Ham, he's got a backing, and it's clearly shown because I believe they've signed over 9 players this summer, which is mental. They're going to look like a real good danger going forward. But I think for me, what could be the issue is you've got all those players and a manager that, like I said, not perfect. I think we're going to see something like a bit of a recuperation period. Obviously, David Moyes leaving, his lasting impact on the team still probably going to be lingering on. But, you know, they've still got some great players. Jared Bowen's going to be firing in some goals and the captain of the team. Obviously, Ward-Prowse is still going to be controlling midfield. You know, there's some great opportunities there. I just don't, for me personally, I just don't really see him pushing up much more than probably 8th place. But that's what I'm going to stick with in 10th place because I think there's 2 more teams ahead of him that need to be there. So in 10th place, West Ham United. 9th place then, another team that's made some great signings when you actually consider it, but obviously not of the same profile as West Ham. Brighton. Obviously, we've been talking about Jorginho Rutter from Leeds United coming in. They've apparently matched his release clause. I think that's a great smart sign there. Kind of like what they did with Neil Maupay a few years ago, as well as João Pedro. Mintet from Newcastle United, obviously not really played that much football, but I think his one's going to come good. And they've also made a bunch of other signs. I know they're trying to sign somebody from Fenerbahce as a recording. Can't say his name, but I know Aston Villa have been linked with him, so that's all I know of that. But there's some great signings there. Obviously, a new manager with De Zerbi having left this season as well. I think really for Brighton this year, they're going to be pushing for a trophy, maybe a Carabao Cup run this year. We'll never know. But like I said, I think it's also going to be a readjustment period for them and something to see how they're going to get on with the league this year with a new manager and new players. So in 9th place, I've got Brighton. 8th place then, I've got Newcastle United. I think for me, this is the probable team that is going to kind of start to work their way back to like finding that form again that they found about a year or 2 ago. But really, signings-wise, it hasn't really come across. Obviously signed the goalkeeper from Nottingham Forest. Mark Gay, he's possibly coming in to strengthen the defence. It'd be a nice partnership with him. And Sven Botman. Obviously, Sandro Tonali will be coming back as a registerable player again following his yearly-long gambling ban. Yeah, not really massive signings or any signings, to be fair. But I think they're a team that's just going to reconsolidate, re-strengthen, and I think they're going to find their form again. So in 8th place, Newcastle United. So now we get to the point where there's only 7 teams left. You know the 7 teams that are probably left for this one. And we're also getting to those European places as well. So in 7th place, Chelsea. For me, whilst I'm not knocking Chelsea in sense of, you know, last season actually did quite well when you think about it. I know obviously not massively week in, week out. But still achieve a European place given what they went through. players they've signed, and some of the things that had happened. Fair play to them. I think the issue is for me, yet again, it's just going to be another case of it. It's just going to be a complete confusing season for him. Obviously, a new manager, Enzo Marseca from Leicester City. I think, whilst he's a kind of good coup, I think it's really questionable to buy him in after one season. I would have expected Pochettino to carry on. I think it should have been the smart decision. Signing-wise, then, obviously, Dewsbury Hall coming in for around 40 million. Pedro Neto. The issue is they've got like 70, I think it was, registrable first-team players. Mess there. Like I said, I think they're going to have a bit of a topsy-turvy season. Obviously, they've got the Conference League to deal with, so if anything, they could go on a push there because they'll have definitely the depth there. But I can also see this also being another managerial sacking, and someone will probably take it over there. So a little bit questionable, but we'll see how it's going to go on for them. So in 7th place, Chelsea. In 6th place, we're now getting to those Europa League spots, and I've got Aston Villa. I think for me, this season, two things are going to happen. Firstly, I think because of the fact that we're playing in the Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Premier League, one of them's got to take the focus. I think for me, we're just going to be too busy. And I know the emphasis has been put on this season buying squad depth, but I just don't really see us having... I don't want to say that same impact that we had last year, because you never know. I think finishing top 6 is still a good achievement for Villa, and given it's our first season of Champions League football, it's not terrible. I just don't think we're going to have that same impact that we did last year. There's been some good signings, obviously Amadou Onana from Everton. I've already spoken about it. I like the player, but I don't think it's been 50 million. Ian Maddison will be interesting to see, although we haven't seen a lot of him pre-season. Obviously making that double swap signing for Douglas Luiz. There's obviously, for me though, it needs more. I think obviously the one that we're waiting for is Diego Carlos to potentially be moved on, and then going in for Fertrude from Feyenoord. I think that's what we're waiting for as well. I think for me, I'd like to see Villa focus on the trophy this season as opposed to going all out for something. We came so close with the Conference League last season, but I think the squad depth really got to us there. I'd like to think with one or two more signings in the right positions, I'd like to see new strikers. I just don't want to see Duran playing. Obviously, we hopefully will get a better defender in for Diego Carlos' replacement. I think for me, focus on a trophy. Let's finally win some silverware. I think that'll be a really good aim for us this year. So in 6th place, Aston Villa. In 5th place then, I've got Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I'm only saying this just purely because of what's going to happen with Villa. If we're being realistic, I would argue that Villa will finish possibly 5th or 4th. But I'm going on what I believe will happen with Villa rather than what my heart wants. I'm going with Tottenham just because I think Solanke, the signing, although it's a bit questionable by some Tottenham Hotspur fans, I think he actually will come good for him. I think he's a player that will really give him something going forward and actually have that nice number 9 there to accompany Heung-min Son. I think we're going to see a nice partnership there as well. Obviously, you're going to have players coming back, a whole squad of fitness. I think they're going to be something that's going to really do well this season, and Postecoglou will have a real nice impact on the team there. So in 5th place, I'm going for Tottenham Hotspur. Number 4 then, so Champions League spots. Firstly, Manchester United. I think really they're going to kick on this season. They've made some good ambitious signings. I know people would argue on the quality of them, and obviously Leray Yoro going injured after his first pre-season game is a bit unfortunate, but that's just how it is. I would say I do like the signings of Mazuri and De Ligt from Bayern Munich. I think they're really nice signings, along with Xerxes. I think they're probably going to go in for one or two more players as well, Manchester United. But yeah, like I said, I think they're going to secure Champions League. We've seen them do well with the likes of the FA Cup and the Community Shield this season. And I just think they're going to come good. They've got rid of some dead weight as well. I think they're going to really be ones to watch this season. So yeah, 4th place, Manchester United. 3rd, I've got Liverpool. No signings as of yet. A new manager in Onslaught for Feyenoord. Although in pre-season they did look pretty decent. I know there's a few rumblings about a potential move away for Luis Diaz. But I don't really see that. I think this is just readjustment for them. They're still the same great team that they've been for the last few years. They're still going to maintain that position in the top 3. But like I said, readjustment. And you never know, they might make a signing. As of recording, nothing's really been concrete with them. But they're still the same great team. They're still the same fearful Anfield. I think we're going to see a nice solid finish for them as well. So in 3rd place, Liverpool. In 2nd place then, I'm going for Arsenal. Obviously, then that means City are going to be finishing first, but we'll get to them in a second. Signing Calafiori from Florentino, I want to say. He's looked quite decent, obviously really standing out in the Euros as well. I think that's something that Arsenal have been wanting, because I know Mikel Arteta's been wanting for the last year. Merino from Real Sociedad, that's obviously a possible transfer that's now going to be happening with Zubimendi rejecting Liverpool. That's the only real sign Liverpool had been potentially going for, but he's given his no to Liverpool, so that's potentially now made the move for Mikel Merino possible. I think they're going to have a solid Champions League run, possibly a new trophy, FA Cup or Carabao Cup. But I think once again, they're just going to miss out on the league. So I just don't see it. I just never can visually picture Arsenal winning the Premier League. So you never know, and see what happens there. And then obviously then first place Manchester City. The squad depth's still insane. Still a great team. Edison's not going anywhere. The only real signing that, the only real sign that they've made is obviously Julian Alvarez to Atletico Madrid. There's a good chance they could possibly bring in somebody with that money. I don't know who they're going to bring in though. Could be anybody, because nothing's been coming out. But like I said, they're still a strong team. They're still going to run away with the league. And yeah, nothing really going to happen there. So in second place, we've got Arsenal. And in first place, we've got Manchester City. Okay then guys, that has been our Premier League predictions. Obviously, leave in the comments down below. We've all got our own ideas. Personally for me, like I said with Aston Villa, I'd like to see us go for a trophy this year. I want to see some silverware. I'd like to see it. I don't want to hope that Champions League runs like Newcastle's in the sense of we only make it through the group stage and win one good game. I'd like to see a bit more from Villa, but I think for me, without the signings that I think are necessary right now still for Villa, I think we're going to have a bit of a, not a slope of a season, just one that doesn't perhaps have that same impact and lasting effect that we did last year. But it's all to come. Obviously, if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We will see you for that first game, then away at West Ham United. But until then, up the Villa, for the pride of Villa. We'll see you later, boys.